Welcome back to Real Crime Stories, the podcast where we bring you crime stories from around the world. It was a warm spring morning in Corvallis, Oregon. 19-year-old Brooke Wilberger was carrying out a routine chore, cleaning the outdoor lights at an apartment complex across the street from where her sister lived. It was an ordinary task, the kind woven into any normal day, but within minutes, everything changed. Brooke's cleaning supplies were left behind, her shoes were torn from her feet, and Brooke herself had vanished. What followed would become one of the most haunting and widely followed mysteries in Oregon's history. Brooke Wilberger grew up in Oregon, in a busy household as the fifth of 6 children. Her life was active and full. She loved basketball, snowboarding, and running, and her energy set her apart both in school and in sports. At 16, she began dating Justin, a boy she had known since childhood. Both came from devout families in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and their relationship grew alongside their shared faith. When Justin left for a 2-year mission in Venezuela, Brooke headed to Utah to begin her studies at Brigham Young University. Her choice of school and career path was deeply personal. As a child, Brooke had struggled with speech and did not begin talking until the age of 4. Those early challenges inspired her to pursue a future in speech pathology, hoping to help others find their voices and confidence. Though soft-spoken, Brooke was known for her strong moral compass and her willingness to speak up when it mattered. After finishing her freshman year, Brooke returned home for the summer, eager to spend time with family and earn extra money. Her sister Stephanie, who managed the Oak Park Apartments in Corvallis with her husband, offered her work around the complex. Brooke planned to stay for a few days, help out, and reconnect with friends and loved ones. On the morning of May 24, 2004, Brooke was seen beginning her tasks. At around 10 a.m., Stephanie noticed her outside, filling a bucket with water to clean the outdoor lights. The sisters had plans to meet for lunch later that day, but when early afternoon came and Brooke never arrived, concern quickly set in. Stephanie went outside with her children, expecting to find Brooke finishing her work or chatting with a resident. Instead, she discovered Brooke's bucket and cleaning supplies abandoned near a lamppost. Nearby were Brooke's flip-flops, broken, muddy, and separated from her feet, as if she had been pulled from them while resisting. A frantic search followed. Brooke's phone, wallet, and bag were found locked inside her car. By 3 p.m., it was clear something was terribly wrong. Police were called, and investigators immediately treated the case with urgency. Lieutenant Ron Noble later explained that while adults typically had the freedom to come and go, Brooke's disappearance was different. She was not someone who would simply vanish without explanation. Reports from nearby residents deepened the concern. Several people recalled hearing a scream around 10:30 that morning, though no one witnessed what happened. As news spread, the search escalated. Officers canvassed the apartment complex, interviewed neighbors, and began reviewing nearly 2,000 registered sex offenders in the area. Brooke's boyfriend, Justin, was contacted, but quickly ruled out. He was thousands of miles away in Venezuela, his alibi unquestionable. For the Wilberger family, the situation was unimaginable. Brooke was deeply connected to her faith, her family, and her plans. She dreamed of marriage, children, and a life devoted to service. Her sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through the community. One question echoed again and again. If Brooke could vanish in broad daylight, who could be next? Within days, her case became one of the most publicized in Oregon history. Hundreds of volunteers joined the search, combing fields, rivers, and wooded areas. The FBI stepped in to assist, and reported sightings of Brooke surfaced across Oregon and even beyond state lines, each one fueling hope and fear in equal measure. Each reported sighting brought a brief surge of hope, But one by one, they all led nowhere. Just days after Brooke vanished, investigators began focusing on a man named Sung-Koo Kim, a 30-year-old who lived with his parents roughly 80 miles from Corvallis. Kim was known to be reclusive, and his name had surfaced in connection with a string of disturbing crimes involving the theft of women's underwear from college dormitories, including buildings at Oregon State University, not far from where Brooke was last seen. A search of Kim's home revealed a staggering discovery. Investigators found thousands of stolen pairs of underwear, along with tens of thousands of graphic images and videos stored on his computer. Many depicted violent sexual acts, torture, and degrading assaults. Even more alarming was a document saved on his desktop. Written shortly after Brooke's disappearance, it read like a step-by-step guide for committing a sexually motivated crime and avoiding detection, detailing what clothes to wear, what tools to carry, and how to eliminate evidence. For a moment, detectives believed they were closing in on Brooke's abductor, but the evidence failed to align. Computer records, phone data, and receipts showed Kim had been at home with his father and shopping at a store at the exact time Brooke went missing. Despite the disturbing nature of his behavior, Kim was ruled out as a suspect. He would later serve 7 years in prison on burglary and related charges. For Brooke's family, the reversal was devastating. The investigation had seemed to gain momentum, only to slip back into uncertainty. Days turned into weeks, then months. Statistically, the chances of finding Brooke alive grew slimmer with each passing day, yet investigators continued pressing forward. One lead that refused to fade involved a dark green minivan mentioned in multiple tips. Witnesses described a 1997 model with Minnesota license plates seen repeatedly near Oregon State University on the day Brooke disappeared. A university employee named Bob recalled watching the driver engage a female student in conversation in a parking lot. The encounter unsettled her so deeply that she later reported it to university staff. Another young woman described a nearly identical experience. As she walked, the same van pulled in front of her. The driver stepped out, asked for directions, then slid open the back door. Sensing immediate danger, she hurried away. A man named Brian, who had previously called 911 about the van's reckless driving, was also asked to share what he had observed. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge. Still, police could not identify the driver or confirm whether the vehicle was connected to Brooke's disappearance. As months passed, search efforts dwindled. The community's initial urgency faded as daily life resumed. For Brooke's family, however, the silence was unbearable. Each unanswered day only deepened the weight of not knowing. Then, in November 2004, more than 1,400 miles away in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a shocking incident reignited the investigation. A woman named Dara was driving with her daughters when they spotted a young woman, completely naked and hysterical, running across a busy roadway. She staggered toward a nearby restaurant, desperately pulling at locked doors. Dara pulled over, brought the woman into her car, and called 911. The victim, a 22-year-old Russian foreign exchange student, described a terrifying ordeal. She said a man had grabbed her behind, pressed a knife to her throat, and forced her into his vehicle. The attacker was described as a tall, broad white man with a shaved head and beard. He sexually assaulted her, bound her with her own shoelaces, and later stopped at an apartment complex. When he stepped away from the vehicle, she managed to break free and run for her life. Her description of the car was striking, a distinctive 2-door red vehicle with floral upholstery and a stuffed toy hanging near the window. Within hours, police had a suspect. Joel Patrick Courtney, a 38-year-old father of 3, was found just blocks away, sitting inside his car with a knife and a crack pipe. Courtney's criminal history quickly came into focus. He was a convicted sex offender who had served time in 1991 for sexual assault and had a long record of criminal behavior spanning multiple states. His life was marked by instability.
According to his sister, Joel had tested with a genius-level IQ as a child, yet by age 11 he was already using hard drugs. As a teenager, he became involved in Satanism, dropped out of school, and cycled through juvenile detention. By 18, he had committed a sexual assault. She later revealed that during their childhood, Joel would sneak into her room at night, choke her, and attempt to rape her.
For a time, Joel's life appeared to stabilize when he met Rosie, the woman who would become his wife. They had 3 children together, and Rosie held on to the hope that he could change. But drugs and alcohol continued to pull him deeper into violence and chaos. Not long before his arrest, Rosie had filed a restraining order after Joel choked her. Once again, his life unraveled into heavy drinking, crack cocaine use, and repeated arrests for driving under the influence. When Joel was arrested in Albuquerque, he was charged with rape, kidnapping, and battery stemming from the attack on the Russian exchange student. During his interrogation, a perceptive detective noticed disturbing similarities between this assault and the unsolved disappearance of Brooke Wilberger in Oregon. Both victims were young and blonde. Both were taken in broad daylight. Both had been overpowered by a tall man, restrained, and sexually assaulted in strikingly similar ways. The detective contacted investigators in Oregon, and the response was immediate. Joel Courtney was already known to them. Records confirmed that on the very day Brooke disappeared, Joel had been in Corvallis with his family. Soon after, the case took a dramatic turn in the public eye. Television stations broke into regular programming with urgent updates, announcing that investigators now believed Brooke had been murdered and that the man being held in an Albuquerque jail was responsible. Although Brooke's body had not been recovered, she was now presumed dead. With Joel Courtney incarcerated in New Mexico, Oregon authorities spent months carefully building their case. One of the most critical breakthroughs came when investigators located the vehicle Joel had been driving at the time Brooke vanished. It was the same dark green minivan witnesses had reported racing through Corvallis that day. Forensic teams dismantled the van, swabbing every surface and examining every fiber. The wait for results was agonizing, but when they arrived, they were decisive. Brooke's DNA was found inside the vehicle. Strands of her blonde hair were also recovered, tucked into a hair tie inside one of Joel's bags. The evidence further revealed that Brooke had been sexually assaulted. In the spring of 2005, prosecutors announced a major development. A Benton County grand jury returned a sweeping 19-count indictment against Joel Patrick Courtney. The charges included 14 counts of aggravated murder under alternative theories, 2 counts of first-degree kidnapping, 1 count of first-degree rape, 1 count of first-degree sexual abuse, and 1 count of first-degree sodomy. Under Oregon law, aggravated murder carried the possibility of the death penalty. There was, however, a significant complication. Joel was still facing charges in New Mexico for the abduction and rape of the exchange student. Prosecutors made it clear that it could take considerable time before he would be extradited to Oregon to stand trial for Brooke's murder. The contrast between the 2 cases was stark. In New Mexico, the victim survived and escaped. In Oregon, Brooke never came home. Despite the mounting evidence, Joel continued to deny knowing Brooke at all. Prosecutors later revealed that when he was presented with the 19-count indictment, he spent the afternoon laughing with other inmates. Even so, cracks in his confidence began to show. During a jail visit with his mother, his reaction to questions about Brooke's death suggested a chilling belief that he would never face consequences. By January 2007, Joel's attorneys attempted to delay the case, arguing that his mental health issues rendered him incompetent to stand trial. After extensive evaluations, the court ruled otherwise. Joel Courtney was deemed competent. For Brooke's family, the decision brought overwhelming relief. Her mother later recalled hearing the news while driving. She pulled over, stepped out of her car, and danced in the street, grateful that he would finally be held accountable.
Before Oregon could proceed with its case, first Joel had to answer for his crimes in New Mexico. Eventually, he pleaded guilty to the kidnapping and rape of the Russian exchange student and was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Even at sentencing, he showed open contempt, mocking the proceedings and disrespecting the judge. For investigators in Oregon, his arrogance only strengthened their resolve to see justice done.
Investigators were convinced Joel knew where Brooke Wilberger was, and they vowed they would find her, no matter the cost. By 2009, 5 years had passed since Brooke's disappearance. Joel's trial in Oregon was approaching, and with it, the real possibility of the death penalty. Prosecutors understood the grim reality. The only way they might ever recover Brooke's remains was through a plea deal. For months, Joel refused to cooperate, manipulating the process and using Brooke's location as leverage. But after enduring repeated assaults from other inmates and being denied access to the anxiety medication he demanded, his resolve began to crack. Joel had controlled the fate of Brooke's body for years. Now he set his terms. He wanted the death penalty removed and demanded to serve the remainder of his New Mexico sentence closer to his family. In exchange, he would plead guilty and reveal where Brooke was. Desperate for answers, and with Brooke's family's consent, prosecutors agreed. More than 5 years after she vanished, the missing person posters were taken down. Brooke had finally been found. Joel Courtney led investigators to a remote, abandoned road roughly 12 miles west of Corvallis. Hidden beneath a fallen tree on private property, her remains lay exactly where he had left them. Dental records confirmed her identity. Her mother knew instantly it was her daughter. Brooke's silver Christmas watch, a gift from her mother, was still fastened to her wrist. For the Wilberger family, the discovery brought bittersweet relief. They were grateful that justice had been secured and that Joel would spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. In court, Joel confessed. He admitted that on the morning Brooke disappeared, he had been driving around Corvallis actively hunting for a victim. He tried to lure 2 other students first, but when he saw Brooke working alone, he changed his plan. Posing as a delivery driver, he approached her, abducted her at knife point, bound her with tape, sexually assaulted her, and drove her deep into the woods. He kept Brooke alive overnight before ultimately bludgeoning her to death. Later, he admitted he had not initially planned to kill her, but when she fought back fiercely, he decided she could not be allowed to live. He concealed her body so carefully that without his confession, she likely never would have been found. The revelation stunned residents. The crime had unfolded in the quiet Benton County coastal range near small towns, family homes, and everyday life. Neighbors struggled to comprehend that such brutality had taken place so close to them. Joel Courtney never apologized to Brooke's family. He expressed no remorse. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. His sister, Dina, later spoke publicly about the family's anguish. She said that from the moment Joel's name surfaced, they had prayed that if he was guilty, he would confess and that Brooke would be found. When that day finally came, she wept. Some investigators have suggested Joel may have been responsible for additional crimes. The FBI later connected him to at least 3 other unsolved assaults and murders in Oregon. One prosecutor compared him to Richard Ramirez, the infamous Night Stalker, describing Joel as one of the most evil individuals she had ever encountered. For Corvallis, Brooke's case became a defining chapter. Her mother later stood before the community at the LaSalle's Stewart Center, thanking the countless volunteers and strangers who had searched for years. The case had united the community in grief, resilience, and determination. She reminded them that the story was not about closure, but about love, the kind Brooke gave so freely. The Wilberger family vowed to honor Brooke by living as she would have, with kindness, strength, and compassion. But the pain never disappeared. Brooke's sister Stephanie later admitted she relives the loss constantly,
replaying the hours before Brooke vanished and wondering if anything could have been done differently. She said that no matter how much time passes, she will never make peace with it. Brooke Wilberger was just 19 years old, a college student with her entire life ahead of her. In the span of minutes, she went from cleaning lights at an apartment complex to being trapped in a nightmare she never deserved. And though justice was ultimately served, the loss of her life remains a wound that time can never heal. Thank you for watching Real Crime Stories. Share your thoughts on the story, like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next episode, stay tuned to this channel.